Talladega, Alabama. Friday night, and Tony Stewart was the show. He was the show Thursday. He was the show Friday. He'll probably be the show Saturday, and he might be the show Sunday. He's finished second 6 times here in the 500 on Sunday. And Greg Zipadelli, his crew chief, says they want to win this one. There are only 4 tracks that he hasn't won on the tour. This place, Darlington, California, and Darlington. They want to win at Talladega. And yet they've got this strange, confusing controversy going on of sorts about Tony's future. Is he going to stay with Joe Gibbs? He's been there for 10 years. He's been on the tour full-time, the Cup Tour full-time since 1999. Won 32 races, 2 championships. Greg Zipadelli, they've had virtually no turnover on the crew. Got a good operation going. And all of a sudden, out of the clear blue, Tony says, hey, I got this great offer, and I might leave at the end of the season with another year left to go on his contract. To me, that would be sort of upsetting. If I was on the crew, I'd be upset. If I was the crew chief, I'd be upset. If I was the car owner, I'd be upset. All of a sudden, they're not upset, though. They're doing all these things. They're talking about this option, that option, and they're laughing and joking. So they're either playing us, trying to get more money out of Home Depot, or there's something going on. I think 2 things are going on. I think Home Depot is ready to pull the plug on NASCAR. Okay? Home Depot leaves, which means that Joe Gibbs has to come up with a new sponsor for Tony Stewart. So they've got to play that game. I think that there's also the fact that General Motors has probably given Tony a blank check. Whatever you want, let's do it. At Phoenix 2 weeks ago, Tony was working the garage really hard, talking to Kevin Harvick, talking to Dale Jr., talking to everybody he could about what it takes to be a car owner. Whether it's a Busch team owner or a Cup team owner, all the various things you have to do, you have to know. He wants to be an owner. Why? I don't know. I was going to ask Mike Helton, the NASCAR president, what he thought about having to deal with Tony Stewart as an owner. I imagine that would be an interesting conversation. But Tony Stewart wants to be an owner. General Motors apparently is leaving him the option of whatever you want to do, we'll pay for it. Whether it's buy the Gene Haas, Joe Custer team and take it over, the Rick Hendrick operation, I don't think that's going to fly. I don't think Richard Chodos is going to let that fly. Richard Chodos lost Dale Earnhardt Jr. to Rick Hendrick. Richard Chodos lost Kyle Busch to Joe Gibbs. If Tony Stewart's on the open market, I don't think Richard Chodos is going to lose him. I'm not sure what Tony Stewart's going to do. I get the impression that he might end up doing something sort of strange. Maybe do a deal with Kevin Harvick for a Cup team. I also think that, we talked to Ryan Newman a little bit today, his contract's up at the end of the season. I think he's going to be Richard Chodos' 4th driver next year. He was talking a little bit about that, talking around the corner. He's been with Penske since 2000, won a bunch of races, but hasn't really won a lot. They've been very inconsistent the last 2.5 years. He did win the Daytona 500. Not looking that good in terms of like consistency and championship potential. And 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008. Maybe it's time for a change. Ryan's a good guy. He would make a good fit. I talked to Chodos about that. Chodos said he would make a good fit. The other guys we're looking at, Carl Edwards. His contract's up at the end of the year. He didn't want to talk about his negotiations with Jeff Smith and Jack Roush. I think they're going to stay. He's hot. He wants money. I'm hearing he's going to get UPS for $22 to $24 million. That's a big jump. When you think that Tony Stewart, who's already won 2 championships and a lot more races than Carl Edwards, is only making about $9 million base salary. I think that's part of the deal on Tony Stewart. He wants more money. Not that these guys wouldn't race for 2 cents if everybody else made 2 cents, but if somebody like Dale Jr. is making $28 million or $30 million, hey, if I'm better, I want as much money as he's got, or maybe more. So we've got that dynamic to work at too. These guys are very ego conscious. We got qualifying coming up Saturday morning. I think it's going to rain. I think we're not going to have qualifying at all. If we do, I would look for Toyota to be on the pole. Michael Waltrip was fast today, but they didn't do any single car runs. They did a lot of drafting, and the word that I get is that if it does rain, NASCAR's priority is to get in the Busch race and not Cup qualifying. They've only got 46 cars going for 43 spots, so that's not going to be that much of a problem. I think we've got to look at the Chevrolets. They're fast. The Toyota has been fast at Daytona and Talladega the last couple times. Dave Blaney could have won this race a year ago, finished third, started on the outside of the front row next to Michael Waltrip. Toyota looks pretty tough. But Tony Stewart, we all come back to Tony Stewart. Tony Stewart and Danica Patrick, the two stories this week at Talladega Speedway. Jack Roush sort of revealed almost in passing that his men had talked with Danica Patrick, and he made it sound like it was her opening at Phoenix 2 weeks ago, before she won Motegi. They talked about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, a couple of times about doing something. More business and marketing than actually what it would take to run 36 to 38 weekends when you're only used to running 16 to 18 weekends, which is a pain. What she wants to do, I don't know. Her father, TJ Patrick, has been trying to get her to come to NASCAR because NASCAR, hey, it's where it's at. In terms of marketing, if you're hot, you want to be in NASCAR. But then you look at Dario Franchitti, you look at Sam Hornish. Hey, being a good star in open wheel, winning the Indy 500, winning IndyCar championships doesn't get you much over here in this sport. These cars are so different. They drive so differently. It's not the drivers are any better or any worse. It's just very, very different. Even Juan Montoya has got some issues to deal with. Chip Ganassi, who's become sort of isolated from the rest of the world right now. He has switched Donnie Wingo as crew chief and Jimmy Elledge as crew chief with Reed Sorensen and Juan Pablo. Just trying to change up the chemistry a little bit. So Jimmy Elledge, good boy, like the guy. Billy Sharp, he is Juan Pablo's new crew chief. Juan Pablo, same team, same cars. They just plugged Jimmy Elledge in. Moved Donnie Wingo over all the cars that Jimmy had for Reed Sorensen. See how that goes. I don't know if that's going to work out. I get the impression that there's something missing at the Ganassi operation. There's also something missing in all the Dodge operations. And I'm not so sure Bob Nardelli is really on top of the game in terms of like what they need for engines, what they need for wind tunnel time. Dodge has a NASCAR problem. Toyota, Chevrolet, they're on top of their games. Ford wants Danica Patrick, it looks like to me. Jack says he'll do it, but it may take a lot of work on her part. And I don't know if her work ethic is going to make it. We'll have to see. But I think that if she wants to make some money, she'll be in NASCAR. Qualifying Saturday, we've got to look at Jimmy Johnson on the pole at Daytona, Michael Waltrip on the outside of the front row at Daytona, and Michael Waltrip on the pole here. One of the most interesting stories today was Tony Stewart, of course, and it wasn't just because he was on the pole for Saturday's nationwide race, or that he is in the center of the controversy over what his future is, but he managed to promote a $20,000 charity tennis match between Mike Mulhern of the Winston-Salem Journal, that's me, and David Poole of the Charlotte Observer. Tennis, Texas Motor Speedway, November, $20,000 to whatever charity we pick. I guess the winners gets to pick the charity. I don't know what that's all about. I haven't played tennis in 30 years. And I don't know if Dave's ever played tennis, but that'll be pretty funny. I can't wait to see what Eddie Gossage does to use that as marketing. NASCAR. You got to love NASCAR. Mike Mulhern for the Winston-Salem Journal, Talladega Motor Speedway, the Winston-Salem Journal, and JournalNow.com.